All the time we spent, wonder where it went. Why must time move on? Why must we grow apart?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Final Picture Show podcast. This is the last of our movies for the month of October, as we'll look at one more movie, which will be our bonus episode for episode 70. But this is episode 69, giggity. Yep, going back to 1994, and I'm Matt, and that's Travis, like always.
Yep.
And Russian Symphony. You ready just to dive into this one?
I'm ready.
All right, a little bit about the background here. Not a whole lot here. This is a more obscure movie from Russia from the 90s, from a director that has not really caught on with Western audiences, which is a damn shame.
Yeah.
Because he is a man that we will talk about again, so we'll talk about him a little quickly here because we will come back to him at least 3 more times.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's very prolific in this genre. Konstantin Lopashansky, I believe, once again, as last week. Try my best with the names. These are a lot of foreign films that we're talking about, which I think is fun. But sometimes some of them I struggle with the pronunciation of.
Yeah.
Even after watching your pronunciation guides, because it's like, oh, but now I have to remember that. Yeah. So if I'm butchering his name, I apologize. I believe he is still alive. Konstantin Lopashansky.
That almost sounds familiar to me.
He is the director of 3. This is the 3rd of his Apocalypse film series, including other such titles as Dead Man's Letters, Visitors of a Museum, and the series ending currently, at least, with Ugly Swan. He would also work alongside another Russian director that we will talk about again very soon, in fact, with the director of Stalker, which is Andrei Tarkovsky. Who we will talk about again as well. Similar to Kurosawa, he would also write and direct this movie himself, as well as most of his films. And as like Kurosawa, he had a kind of cast of characters that he would reuse a lot. So we're going to see a lot of the same actors that show up in a lot of his films. So let's go ahead and get into the cast of them. Not just a couple of them here, really. We'll talk about 3 of them, and then we'll talk about some others in passing, because most of these people, IMDb has a lot of information on, but there are a lot of Russian movies that neither you nor I, nor our audience, has necessarily seen.
Yeah.
So no reason to kind of belabor the point here.
Right.
And also make myself struggle with titles that I don't
right.
know how to say. The main character here is played by Ivan, is played by Viktor Mikhailov, and he would work with the same director together lots of times, both before and after this. Next up is playing the character of Julie, I'm not sure, is Valentin Goblenko, and he would die in 2023 at 82 years old. He was a big star in Russia.
Oh.
Speaking of big stars in Russia, is another classic star of Russian cinema, Nikolai Kharbarov, who would be in War and Peace in 1965, as well as a lot of other films. Like I said, he was kind of a Russian star. He would also serve in the Red Army in World War II, as well as joining a theater troupe in St. Petersburg for some time. So kind of a big deal there.
Yeah.
Other stars we get here are Alexander Ilin, Kira Petrov, and Valentina Kovel. So,
yeah, these are
kind
all
of rounds
names
out our cast.
I have never heard.
Yeah, that's going to be a similar theme with next week and for the next couple of weeks as we continue looking at some films that are a little bit more obscure as
That's
we
exciting.
round out our year of 2025. Yeah, I think it's fun. Background here is very, very short. Like I said, not a whole lot here. This movie won the award for New Cinema at the Berlin International Film Festival in 1995, where it would tie with the movie Moving the Mountain, which was a documentary movie about the student demonstrations in China in 1989. Speaking of the Berlin International Film Festival, the day this movie came out there would also be the same day the movie Before Sunrise would come out, with Richard Linklater scoring a lot of big hits at the International Festival that day. Similarly, in 2025, the Berlin International Film Festival also happened, and once again, Richard Linklater there getting a lot of awards for his most recent movie. So, a man that we've talked about a couple times, especially most recently when we looked at Last Night. One of these days, we'll look at some Linklater movies.
I think so. I mean, we're definitely fans, and...
Oh, I love Richard Linklater.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Love Richard Linklater. He's one of my favorite directors.
Absolutely.
So, going into the director, not a whole lot of information about the film itself, but so I had to kind of look a little bit more into the director. So this, of all of his movies, this is his most religious movie, and this movie is basically kind of an allegory of the story of Christ told through what if people didn't believe him.
Oh.
So that's kind of the setup we have here. Presented in the form of a Russian art movie, of which we will watch a couple more.
That's
because there's, like I said, he did 3 of these, and then there's several other Russians that were also dealing with a lot of the same kind of stuff here as well. Speaking of which, his thesis film, his short film he made to get his degree, was about a musician playing his last concert during the siege of Leningrad.
Oh,
so kind of speaking into post-apocalyptic kind of situations there. Kind of an interesting visual thing there. And this would be his last film for almost a decade. He took a long break for this after this movie. However, in 2022, he would come back up when the news as he would be one of the more larger names to sign an open letter condemning the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Oh.
So, not a fan of that.
Yeah.
Last thing to talk about before we get into the Travis Trivia, which directly ties to the Travis Trivia, is this movie came out in Canada in 1994, so says IMDb. However, I cannot find out for the life of me when in 1994 it came out, but it did come out in Berlin in 1995 in the 1995 Berlin International Film Festival, which started on February 9th of 1995, so that's the day that I chose for the Travis Trivia, which, like we said last week, has undergone a little bit of maintenance as,
capitalism has reared its head.
Capitalism has made it to where I can no longer freely access the information. But here's a couple things about what happened in the world on this day, and then these songs. Bernard Harris became the first black man to spacewalk on this day. February 9th, 1995. In Ireland, Riverdance would debut on February 9th, 1995 to much acclaim and celebration worldwide.
Was Riverdance, was that Michael Flatley? No, that was Lord of the Dance. I was going to say, that's something else. Those are different.
Songs in the charts, like I said, could not get a complete list. Number 1 song was, so it's kind of funny, we just talked about them in 1999. Here they are in 1995, so 90s were definitely a decade for them. TLC, which song do you think it was this time?
Oh, by then, 95 had to be Waterfall.
No, Creep.
Oh, Creep. I forgot about Creep.
Next up on the list was a pop song by an R&B artist who has been in the news for a lot of different things over the years. She keeps finding a way to be relevant. I don't even know how. Her music is not necessarily relevant anymore. I'm talking about Brandy, and this would be the song Baby. So
I might remember this song.
Well, here's one. The last one we'll talk about is one you definitely remember. This would be not their biggest song of the 90s, but one of their biggest songs of the 90s. One of their more somber songs. The group is Green Day. Any guesses as to the song?
Oh, God. Good Riddance?
No, a little too early for that.
Is it too early for that? Oh, God.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of somber songs that they did back in...
It's not a slow 95. Song.
Duh. 95.
It's on their Dookie album.
It was the Dookie. My brother used to... He was my intro to all this. He would play it all the time. What was the song on there? Was it the secret track, All by Myself?
No. That wouldn't be on the radio.
No, it wouldn't. But I remember
it. When I Come Around.
Okay. I never thought of that as somber, but I get it.
Yeah, it's got kind of like a little bit more, like, especially compared to like their songs at that point that was like Longview. Longview was popular at that point. And Basket Case.
Basket Case had
probably come out at that point. The most thing that I remember When I Come Around is the music video where they're just like kind of like walking through the city. Yeah. And at one point, Billy Joe like takes a phone and just takes it off the hook and leaves it there like a payphone. There was a time period in my life where every payphone I went by, I may have done that too.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's just taking it off the hook, just to be
So
a reference that our younger listeners would never understand because we don't have payphones anymore.
Well, I wonder if you could even find payphones anywhere anymore. I doubt
Maybe
it.
at the airport. Maybe at the airport.
Maybe at the airport.
Maybe at the airport. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been to the airport to
It's been
be
a
able to know.
while.
Well, we're going to go to the middle section and come back and talk about the plot of Russian Symphony. See you guys in a second. We will be at episode 70, and so we're going to do something completely different. And in the spirit of the season, we're going to look at a Halloween movie from both the 90s and from another country as we look at, what was it, Tetsuo, the Iron Man. Yeah. Another odd Japanese art movie.
I've never seen this one. I'm excited for some Japanese body horror, though.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I thought that it would kind of set the tone. You know, it's a 90s foreign movie and a little artsy.
This month we've talked about David Cronenberg being in a movie. Now we can talk about a movie that would be similar to a David Cronenberg movie.
That's true. That's true. And in the month of November, as we approach that month very, very quickly. Damn, it's gone by fast. October.
I'm telling you.
In November, we're going to separate from the 90s, but we're going to continue looking at some more avant-garde, some more art films, if you will, set in the post-apocalypse as we get into some weird shit as we continue to alienate our audience by looking at movies that probably most of them have never seen before. So.
What is mass appeal?
Welcome back from the little break. A break we needed because this movie is, I guess one would say, dense.
Dense?
Orange.
Oh, it's very orange.
It's a very orange movie. Yes, maybe the most orange movie you will ever see.
And I'm going to go ahead and say a little over my head.
There's definitely parts of it that are definitely. I mean, I think that's the thing. I think not to.
Well, it's not so much that it's over my head. It's culturally, I have very little.
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Context.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, basically, like we didn't get into this in the background of the movie, but this movie came out in 1994 in Russia. For those not history fans out there, the USSR, as it was known, ceased
back
to
in the
be
USSR?
Back in the USSR, ceased to be in 1991.
Mm-hmm.
So we are 3 years after that.
Oh.
And so this movie is heavily rooted in the context of what was going on in Russian history then, as times were not good. People were lining the streets. I was watching a PBS documentary. I'll link it in the bio of this episode. But yeah, there was a really, really good PBS documentary about Russia from 1992 to 1994 and just like how radically things changed and yet stayed the same for a lot of these people. And I think that's kind of one of the major themes that the movie is playing off of is like the fall of the empire. And how that looked, and also people's kind of ambivalence and general kind of dismissive feelings towards, maybe the fall of said empire.
Well, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
God.
so
What
this is going to start and this will start a little bit of a trend as we are going to. This begins kind of the end of October. Moving into episode 70, where we're going to watch Iron Man next week. Not the Marvel movie one.
No. Tetsuo, the Iron Man.
There you go. And then in November, we're going to watch some art movies, some more popular art movies, but some art movies nevertheless. And so the plots of these movies are kind of irrelevant. They're more of like a string together juxtaposition of images that are meant to evoke certain feelings. And the plot serves only to explain how we get from scene to scene. That's kind of what this is. It also helps beyond having some historical context for Russia at this time. It also helps if you have any kind of knowledge on Russian literature, because that's also a big thing.
I mostly don't.
You need to know two authors to really understand this movie. And one of them is Tolstoy and the other one is Dostoevsky.
Yep, which I'm somewhat familiar with.
I was going to say, most high school students, if you are millennial, Gen Zers, they don't read it anymore, much to probably the chagrin of many a college professor.
I must
But
have missed out too, because
I was going to say some high school students even back then didn't read it, but typically in high school you would read Crime and Punishment, which is Dostoevsky. He's not. It's not. I don't. It's not even. It's. I feel like a hipster saying it's not his best work. It's really fucking good. It's a really good morality play about salvation, redemption. It's very Christian in its mythos. Now, it was not at all written in the 90s. It was written long before then.
See, unfortunately, I have a really awful thing to say. My biggest exposure.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
I'm about to just disappoint the world here. Or at least lower your standards about me. My biggest exposure to Crime and Punishment is the wonderful movie Crime and Punishment in Suburbia that I think I'm the only one that likes.
Well, we'll get to that here in a minute. Because we're going to look at some reviews of this film. The reviews vary greatly on this particular film.
Oh,
so.
I believe it.
Yeah. So like most art movies, it's either at the end of the day, it's either like it is your shit or it isn't your shit. You know?
Right.
So it either works for you or it doesn't. And that's kind of what this is going to do. So you don't have to know anything about Dostoevsky. You don't have to know anything about Tolstoy. You don't have to know anything about Crime and Punishment. You don't have to know anything about Russian history or the fall of the Russian Empire or Orthodox Christianity in Russia. You don't have to know about any of that shit. You don't have to. Now, it certainly helps.
I think it would help
to paint a contextual picture, especially in this movie. But
well, I think imagery-wise, they really do a great job of filling in the blanks. You know?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think good art can be appreciated without context. You can just look at it or read it and just be like, yeah, I can not so much that I understand. Obviously, context helps.
Well,
but
yeah,
I think that
I get
contextualist reading.
I get the
of the text is fun.
Yeah, I get the intent. I get the I get what they're going for. I get the feeling they're trying to make me feel.
It's very counterintuitive to, I think, like what I would do at a high school teaching level. Like I would always give students context.
Oh, that's right.
Because I have to, for them to understand it. But if I take away that context, I am curious as to how they would understand the text. It's interesting being a teacher and you see like how students understand text versus like the ones that I've read out loud and versus the ones they read by themselves and how they interpret them differently. It's interesting how that happens. So
that sounds interesting.
Rather than go plot by plot, beat by beat, bar by bar, like Soulja Boy or Drake would, with these kind of movies, rather we're just going to kind of talk about like almost like an art class. And my favorite art classes, the kind of the general start of it was like, what was fucking cool? What stood out as being like, that was interesting. That was interesting. And at the beginning of the movie, the thing that I thought was the most interesting was that the world is kind of already ended. Like we start post-apocalyptic and the narrator is an untrustworthy one. He's this dude named Ivan.
Yeah.
Very Russian. Very Russian. This movie, I read a review that I'll get to here in a minute on my phone when we get to the end of the movie, that someone reviewed this movie and said it was a very Russian movie. And I was like, I can understand that.
Yeah. We went from very Canadian to very Russian.
Yeah, with a little jump over to Japan in there.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right, exactly. So he starts the movie like in a house that is kind of already flooded.
Yeah.
And he's wanting tea and he's having these like dreams and mirrors are a big theme in this movie.
Oh yeah.
He likes to look into, doesn't like to, but he inevitably finds himself looking into mirrors as a self-reflective thing. Yes. And as he sees his reflection, he is sometimes detested by what he sees. He calls himself scum or he runs away from his image.
He doesn't recognize who he's looking at.
He doesn't recognize who he's looking at. Yeah. So all that happens kind of at the beginning of the movie before we kind of really take off. But yeah, I really like that. I like that we start off at the beginning. We start off after the world has already ended, more or less. Yeah. We have an untrustworthy narrator.
Mm-hmm.
At times, we will slip into and out of dreams. And there's no... Yeah, it gets hard towards the end. There's no real way to know if this is a dream or if this is reality. There's
Mm-hmm.
no like visual cue, visual tip, anything like that. Most of the movie is painted in this like silhouette of orange and browns and reds.
Yes.
And almost every single scene, there's a lit fire or some kind of flame being
Yeah, that's
used
right.
as a light source. So it's very like almost like Stanley Kubrick, Barry Lyndon, very
yeah.
naturally lit, where the candles and the light is all that there is.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie takes place primarily at dark. I don't think there's until the end of the
think-
movie. I don't think there's a single day shot.
I don't remember a day shot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or at least
and the
early
last
on.
like 10 minutes of the movie are a guy crawling through the snow.
That.
Yeah. So it's one of those kind of movies. Like I said, it's a very artsy movie. I really like this movie. It's one of those movies where after watching it, as a very like visual person, as a person who like visualizes things, just describing what I just said, not a literal person. This movie is one of those movies that after watching it, it inspired me. It made me want to like go like pick up a camera and film shit because of the way it's filmed. It's very visually evocative.
It is
Like that. A lot.
Yes.
Thoughts at the beginning of the movie?
At the beginning of the movie, I was like, God, I mean, it's just that first shot, like him talking about, I wanted a cup of tea, and then he lit the candle and he's like, and it hit me all at once, and and then we're just off on this whole thing, and it's a beautiful shot, I think, with him lighting the candle and talking about drinking tea. Just what Russian doesn't love tea,
Yeah.
And what a thing to say.
Narratively, he is trying to remember what he was doing when the world ended.
Yeah. So yeah, I will say I worry that because we were relying on YouTube subtitles, I worry that I missed a bunch.
Well, so it's fairly based on what I've read online. The subtitles in the English version that we watched on YouTube are fairly accurate. The quality is fairly good. It's 720p, so it's not 4K. But this movie is hard to find even in Russia. So it was not a movie that was, when it came out, it won some awards in Berlin, and in Germany it won some awards. But in Russia, it was not well received. It was kind of a box office bomb. No way to know how much it cost. But based on how many extras are in the movie and the size and scope of the movie, you can see that there's a lot of money went into this. Like, there's obviously a lot of production.
Oh, yeah. No, this was definitely...
like half of the first part of the movie is completely, like, up to, like, your kneecaps in water.
Yeah.
So, they had to flood a lot of shit to make that happen. Yeah, like, no expense was spared, at least it looks like.
The thing I would really say about this movie that I liked, the things that I really, really liked the most was the imageries of almost absurdism.
Yeah.
I really latched onto that.
Yeah, there are some funny elements in this movie.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, there was plenty of times I was just laughing because I was just like, but I was also like really trying hard to pay attention because I was like worried I was going to miss something.
It does command your attention. It really does command your attention. It's those long, slow, menacing shots of the camera where you're like waiting for things to happen because as it moves, you're like, okay, something's going to happen that's going to be important soon. Something's going to explain what the fuck I'm looking at. Because right now it's a little confusing. The beginning of the movie does a little bit to set it up. So the setup is basically the world has ended. There's this guy, Ivan. And the entire world, modern day Russia, is when the movie is set. That's all it tells you. Modern day Russia.
Yeah.
The entire world is facing God's judgment. Orthodox God, old school God.
Oh, Lord.
Burn your house down, kill your son, God. That kind of God. Yeah, Old Testament God. Wrathful. And Ivan wishes to do something in his last moments of facing judgment of worth. He feels like his life has not really been worth of anything, and that he could potentially do something of dignity and importance. And he decides that thing is to save these kids that are in this orphanage that's across the street from his apartment that
Yes.
are also drowning because the world is completely covered in water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of the setup at the beginning of the movie. And then he runs over and tries to help them and has to wade through water and use a wardrobe closet as a boat with an oar that he finds.
And that, I love the imagery of that.
Yes,
Just
that is
floating
really,
on
that's one of
that.
those images where I was like, God damn, that'll stick in your mind for a while.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
I was thinking about something, and this is kind of a layer on top of a layer, but this kind of the description of this movie.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think about it till just now.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you ever saw Ikaru by Akira Kurosawa.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of, but here's the thing: Akira Kurosawa is really into Russian literature, and
Aren't we all?
So,
Aren't we all?
I mean, aren't we all? I mean, I'm gonna be. But that story is kind of a similar idea of like, you know, this guy, he works at a public like office or whatever, like a public works office, and it's very like bureaucratic and nothing gets done. But then he finds out he's dying and he wants to actually do something. And it's just this like, he basically spends his failing health like trying to fight for this like public works, like this, I think it's like a park or something like that. And it is, I really liked the movie. I watched it not very long ago. I mean, I've watched, I fight for stupid movies, and apparently that's what I've been watching more of in my whole life. So art movies evaded me apparently, but
highbrow, lowbrow, you got to have a good in between. You know,
you gotta.
I always compare it to like some of the world's best chefs, which I think you could compare it to some of the world's best novelists and some of the world's best filmmakers, people that are very like wired a certain way. Right. And that's kind of that mentality. Writer, director, you know, Kurosawa, the guy that's doing this one here. These are people that are very hands-on, very like intentional with their work. Right.
Yes.
And chefs are the same way. And if you talk to a lot of chefs, they'll give you recommendations of like all kinds of fancy restaurants to go to, like what other chefs have really amazing food for those people that are like really into foods, right? Me and my wife are becoming foodies. This is what apparently you do when you're 38 and you don't have kids. So, apparently. So, and some of them,
your life doesn't revolve around mac and cheese and chicken nuggets. And
well,
stuff,
no, it still does. It still does. Because listening to interviews with them, they will say like, you know, there's all these good restaurants, but then people will ask them the honest question, like, where do you go when you're fucking broke? And because a lot of them have been fucking broke, similar to writers and artists and directors and actors. Like it's not necessarily a fair industry to us all. So it's very cutthroat. Right. It's very cutthroat. And several of them will recommend places that you would never expect. Like Popeyes gets recommended a lot. Wendy's, like places where they're like, oh yeah, you can. You know, it's not good for you. It doesn't really fit the narrative of like highbrow entertainment, but it's still good. It's like, I think, you know, you can like a movie like this as well as like The Stupids. There you go.
How dare you? But I think The Stupids is art, and I'll fight. I will one of these days, if I ever get a chance, I will fight for that movie.
Speaking of, I was going to say, if you want to get into any Russian literature, a good place to start that is free. A lot of Russian literature is free, but Dostoevsky's Notes from the Underground. That's a novella that he wrote. It's written in such an interesting way that I think if you read like the first 10 pages of it, you'll get hooked and you'll want to read the entire book, which is like 100-something pages. It's not very long. It's very good.
Okay.
Back to the movie. So,
yes. That was quite a digression.
Yeah, well, this movie takes one as well. So basically, Ivan, he wants
just
to do
one?
Something good. Just, many. We take many. Some of them may not have even really happened. Maybe that entire digression we just took and this one didn't really happen. You be the judge. So Ivan is faced with this paradox of like he wants to do good in the eyes of God, but is he just doing good to appease God? Or is this something that he genuinely wants to do? And so this is kind of like a philosophical question that he's going to be facing. and struggling with, and we get a kind of clever outcome that you would never expect. Very atypical of Russian literature, where there's kind of a twist that is interesting. So the middle section of the movie is him going to various people and meeting various people as he's trying to get help for these orphans that are drowning. Yeah. And the movie makes it in a very kind of like over the top and almost silly way.
Yeah, like because who's the first people he talks to? Those two ladies.
He talks to two ladies, yeah. He's going to talk to a bunch of people. And basically everyone he talks to, it's very Plato's allegory of the cave. Basically everyone he talks to doesn't believe anything he's saying. They all think he's full of shit. They think he is perhaps an actor, or this is a play, or...
Like...
Well, the actor thing becomes important later on, because that's something that they kind of get transfixed on, is this just a cosmic play and God is the writer and we are just actors playing out a part that we had no role in writing.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh, it's so much.
That's one of the questions we're going to get into in the middle section of the movie. The movie is near 2 hours long. It is a long watch. It's not a watch that I would say take all in at one time. I would say maybe pace yourself with it. I took it all in at one time and then had to kind of like push it back out and be like, okay, hold on a minute. Like, that was an experience. Like, I need to go back in again and try to make sense of what just happened.
Yeah, I took a few watches.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those movies that you have to watch and then kind of take a second viewing to be like, what just happened? Like, is that what I think just happened? What's going on exactly? Especially towards the end.
Oh, yeah.
So the middle section is very funny. We get a lot of like jokes at the expense of Russian politics. Gorbachev, especially. He's a janitor in this movie.
That was awesome.
It shows you what they thought of Gorbachev in Russia at the time.
And I guess he goes to the leader of this whole. I don't know who it's supposed to be. That lady.
It's this woman who gets various states of undressed as the movie goes on.
I'll be honest,
until
I didn't
she
understand
dies
that part.
And becomes a zombie.
That was nuts.
Yeah, there's also zombies in this movie, by the way.
Oh, that's right. There are zombies. I forget that they do talk about that. It's the end times, so
it is like this is literally just the it's like the Old Testament. Just everything that was in the Bible is coming true here in Russia.
Yep. And so and I get like that's another of those lenses that it's going. It's very much like they're looking through one point of view, and it's a Russian point of view, and
yes,
so it's a real
Russian
insight,
Like, it's an interesting movie. So the cool thing, or not a cool thing, or maybe more of like a historically interesting thing, is in 1994, Russia took a massive downturn, both economically, but also in their entertainment industry. There were only like 60 movies made the entire year.
Whoa.
Yeah. Compare that to a couple years before, post World War II Russia, where they were making like a couple thousand movies a year.
Oh.
So they had definitely taken quite a downturn. So this, like I said, this movie did not do very well when it came out, but it was only there wasn't many movies that came out that year.
Well, I guess if they were having such an economic downturn, it was probably hard to enjoy a movie, especially something as stark as this. And
this movie is very stark. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it
68 movies. 68 movies made in 1994.
Movies.
Yeah, that's
could you imagine?
That'd be crazy. Yeah,
like
that's not many. That's not many options.
Not many. But I will say one of the things that I really liked, one of the funny things that I really liked, was whenever he is like goes to that apartment building, tenement building, or whatever, and tenement building, whatever words are, and he's like knocking on the door, and he's like, "I heard you have a typewriter." And this group of people, I loved every step of the way. Like,
his little writer friends that just drink themselves. Yes, they become a great group. Yeah,
this looks like a group of Russian artists right here.
Yeah, so eventually, like you were saying, he finds himself to the government, and he has to talk to the leader of what's left of the government. And like we said, the world has ended. So
Yeah.
basically, everyone these are like the most like fuck everybody kind of people.
Yes.
Like, I want to drink, I want to fuck, I don't want to do anything to help anybody. Screw your orphans that need a boat or that need a helicopter. I don't care. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the general what he's dealing with. So he decides to go visit, excuse me, these writers that he hears about. And as he meets them, they discover that they're very drunk, first off.
Yeah.
And it becomes very funny later in the movie when you actually read what he wrote. But he's trying to write a speech, a claim to get a helicopter or a boat to help these orphans because he wants to do something good before the eyes of God so he doesn't feel God's wrath.
And I guess, and he keeps calling himself not a contemporary. What was it, like a succession of Tolstoy?
He is the next in line after Tolstoy and Dostoevsky. It is now Ivan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that
so
sets
that's how
the
he
writer
views
friend
himself.
off.
Yes, his writer friend is like, bullshit. Like,
Yeah. He's like, what kind of start is this? I'm the successor to, like, come on. And he's like, there's, and then the lady kind of tries to interject her thing. She's like, why not a description of nature? That's very Russian literature. And that gets dismissed. And
yes.
But,
all the writing scenes are very, very funny.
Yeah, that especially that one, right? I don't remember his name. He keeps calling him, God, he has a different name for him. He calls him like Vanya. Yeah.
Vanya.
Yeah. And I liked him a lot. He might have been my
he's
favorite.
great. Yeah, he's great.
Because I saw myself
this movie was
there.
remade in English, he would be Jack Black.
Oh, yeah.
He's very Jack
absolutely.
Black-y-esque. Like,
He's
running around, big beard, very boisterous, chugging vodka every 6 seconds, and encouraging others to do the same every couple seconds. Like, here, have a drink. Here, have a drink. Here, have a drink. Like, they're churning him down.
And I like that we kind of keep coming back to certain people. Like, that not everybody's really out of the movie once they have their scene. Like, they come back. It's
yes. So he's like traveling and meeting these different people, and like you said, some of them will show back up. Like Vanya will keep showing back up all throughout the movie. The government lady, she will show back up occasionally throughout the rest of the movie as he tries to get this speech together. And then in the process of doing so, he realizes two things. One, he doesn't actually give a shit about these kids.
Yep.
He doesn't care about them at all. And he's realizing that because he's trying to force himself to cry about them and about the fact that they're drowning, and he can't cry about it because he's like, it doesn't bother me.
No, he has to eat an onion.
Yeah, he has to eat and smell and rub an onion in his eyes in order to get himself to cry, so he can read off this speech to these writers that are waiting to hear this masterpiece.
And when he does, like, they are just enwrapped.
Yes, they love it. They're immediately like, you know what? You are the next Dostoevsky. Holy shit. You're going to be a millionaire. Of what's left of the world, you're going to rule it. Like,
but they think it's, it should be a novel. And I think, doesn't he say that? Where he's like, I thought this was going to be this, but maybe it's a novel instead.
Yeah, that's the best thing, is he starts off writing a claim, which should basically be like a paragraph explaining why you want something. And then they like it so much, he's like, well, shit, maybe I should turn it into a novel. It's very silly. Also, we skipped over a silly part, which is that because they have to keep churning through water, the police force that's left has decided that shorts are now okay. The Americans would do it, so we can do it.
And I guess he cuts his pants.
Yes, he cuts his pants, which pisses off the lady. She's just like,
what
gives him a look like, what are you doing?
But I think he said we only have one pair of shorts, and he's like, well, she says, like, you should have got them. Like, you should have just wore those. Like,
they have one pair of shorts left of the entire thing.
That's so funny.
There's a lot of little silly things in this movie.
There are, which I very much appreciate, because I'm an absurdist. So I, what little I understand.
I kind of compare this movie to Bed Sitting Room. Remember that one?
Absolutely.
Back when? Our third
100%.
review ever.
Yep.
Where it's like kind of just things, random little interjections of things happen in the course of a narrative,
Yes.
that you can take and analyze on the whole, but if you do, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
No.
And instead, if you kind of just like explain kind of what was cool about it, then I think it's kind of works. That's how we've decided works a little bit better for surrealism, as opposed to trying to explain it, which kind of takes away some of the
Could you
fun.
imagine? Like, I don't know. I did one surrealist painting that I gave you. I don't think you couldn't really describe that as a whole thing because it doesn't go together.
Yeah.
It's just dumb shit that I painted,
Yeah. So eventually he does have like a breakdown and he gives this big, really passionate speech next to a burning down building, which very evocative shot as he basically tells everyone like, I had to eat an onion to cry.
Yeah,
I feel no
speech.
pity. I don't give a shit about these kids. I don't care about anybody other than myself.
That scene where he just starts just going off like, and everybody's like, quiet, he's gonna speak, like I was like, damn, they're really like, they want to hear this, like they give it the gravitas and everything, and man, he just goes. It's powerful. That speech is,
it's a really good speech.
Really,
it hits home because it's one of those things where he's like, he literally is explaining a good portion of the beginning of the movie is kind of just him not speaking as things happen. So this portion helps kind of explain a little bit of what you just watched. It helps narratively make sense of the kind of images that you just kind of had juxtaposed. But it's also just really well acted as he literally is like veins pumping, screaming as fire is behind him, giving the speech about why he can't care about anything anymore.
Yeah. And then,
like, what kind of person does that make him?
Yeah, and then I don't even think we get to see much of the aftermath of that because immediately it's like he's actually dreaming this, or he's like, I don't know, passed out, wasted, I guess, or something.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that happens during the middle section is when we kind of get these little interjections where we don't know if what we're seeing is truly happening or if it's a dream. Because at times he kind of goes back and forth, and there's no visual indicator.
No.
There's not like a thing where when he's not dreaming, the movie is one color, and when he's dreaming, it's this color. That is not a thing that happens.
Yeah, no.
That's
fantasy
a thing you
and
see
reality.
I was gonna say that's kind of a motif you see in some French movies where they will use colors to symbolize when we're going from one thing to the other. Christopher Nolan does that with Tenet as well. Where
See, I hadn't actually watched that one.
Speak of confusing movies, that's a confusing ass movie. But
I believe it.
In Tenet, the colors will change to indicate if you were going backwards in time or forwards in time.
Interesting.
And, this movie gives you no visual indication.
Oh no.
You are left to your own devices to if that's real or is that a dream.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun. I like that.
It is.
You're left with a lot of questions.
Absolutely. No, I think a movie like this, I don't think it would have been made better by being more clear. I think it would have actually suffered.
He runs I was going to say. Well, so the end of the middle section of the movie, kind of getting towards the kind of the end of it, is he runs into various people, as we said. One of the other groups he runs into is these two women who have this little boy with them who plays a cello.
Yeah.
And they help him kind of get cleaned up because they're like, well, you need to look nice before you go and do your, presentation to the government.
Yeah.
So he looks nice now.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
But he's like,
all dressed up
there and he's just so depressed and sad and like, broken,
Yeah.
And they're like,
he's realizing look I don't care about this. I
kind of like their ideas to cheer him up, and like, look at these drawings, listen to the cello, like look at what these kids are doing, And it's like, help. I don't know if that would help, but I guess they're just trying to take his mind off of things. Like, look at this, like, pay attention to something else,
Yeah.
But
eventually, he does decide to try to go back to helping the kids, as his friend Vanya shows back up again.
Yep.
And they rush him off to the government meeting where he could potentially present his claim to get some money or to get a helicopter or a boat or something for these kids.
Yeah.
But along the way, every time he talks to somebody, they just kind of either ignore him or are doing other things. or they assume he's lying, or they just have him do other mundane tasks that don't really do anything to keep him away from trying to help these kids. Yeah, it's a lot of that happening.
Now, I will say I kind of got lost in the order of things, but when is it that he starts talking about, or like someone starts talking about their past lives? Is that after all that?
It might be. I'm not sure 100% either.
So I know, right? Like, but he starts talking. I guess they're talking about how he's looking out this window, and the lady's like,
that's where the cello scene is happening. Yeah, he's
that
looking
is
at
where
the
that- okay,
window at
that's
the
that.
moon. Yeah.
So this is where this is again where it's like a new thing kind of introduces itself, where the idea of him as a past life, as like a previous incarnation of him, and there's, I guess he's in like this, I don't know if he goes like a flashback or he's there or it's something.
Yeah,
and
it just kind of cuts and he's there.
Yeah, it's not at all clear, and I love it. But all of a sudden, he's just surrounded by like these. I don't know. I would say that I'm going to say Victorian era, just because I don't know another way. But this like party, I guess.
Yeah,
with all of
it's like
these...
this massive party, and everyone's kind of moving towards this central location
Mm-hmm.
where they're going to get on this train.
Yes,
I think it's supposed to be like the people who are basically running the government, and yes, they are dressed like in Victorian wear, which is kind of visually funny.
It is,
given that we are in the 90s in Russia.
Yeah. Well, then was that when he gets dressed up like?
Yes. Yeah, he gets all dressed up. Yeah,
because he's been wearing this very like, I guess modern day like dark like long wool coat, and he's been wearing that the whole time, and then now he's wearing like this very imperial like soldier type of shirt or like jacket, and just I don't remember when that happened. You know,
yeah, he just changes.
Yeah, he's just wearing this now, and I'm like, wait, what? I loved it. And then and then they moved to this train. What's the train? And then I'm like,
the train scenes are some of my favorite parts.
Absolutely.
The parts with him and Vanya, where he's reciting his novel, which is just like a paragraph, and they are losing their mind as they are drunk as hell, telling him how great of a writer he is. And I love it. It's very, very funny.
And I like the way it's shot, where you got
it's beautiful.
Them on the bottom, and then you got that one guy above them, and they're like talking to each other about how great he is, and it's amazing. It's just and then looking out the window from there, it's just this really great shot of like, I don't know, the whole movie is just full of great shots and very interesting things happening, very good angles, very it's not just set the camera down and let people talk. It's deliberate.
Yeah, it's very much deliberate. Yeah, like you said. Yeah. So basically, because he is such a great novelist, which no one's really read his novel yet, they kind of elect him to speak to God.
Yeah.
So at the end of the movie, they get on the train and they head to the beach to go speak to God.
Yeah.
And this is shot like, I guess the best comparison I could make would be like a high school football game. Where there's people on the bleachers and they're like rooting for their team as they're watching him get ready to give this speech, but they can't find him yet.
No.
And once again, is this real? Is this a dream? I do not know.
No clue.
I believe this is a dream, but I honestly do not know.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very confusing at times.
It is.
As to what is happening, and not as to what is happening, but is this real or is this in his head? Like I said, there's no visual kind of cue that I could tell that lets you know one way or the other. But the march that they have to the beach is visually striking as hell.
Yes.
Like it is amazing to look at. That's the scene that kind of was like visually, I was like, I'm going to steal the shit out of that one day.
Oh yeah,
I love the way it was shot. I loved it. It was beautiful.
Now, and then I'm like I say, I keep getting messed up with the timeline of this, with the sequence of events. I get very out of order. When was it where the little person is just having like a vision, I guess, of
that
the
happens
beast?
here in just a second.
Oh, okay, that was after. Okay.
Yeah. So that's after. So eventually they find him. Vanya goes and finds him. He has gone
Oh yeah.
off to get made over. And as he
Yeah.
gets made over, he comes in looking kind of unsightly, almost unhuman.
Oh, he looks deranged.
He's kind of like a Frankenstein almost, where he can't put his arms down. He's walking very, very like robot-esque, and he also is wearing like a red bow tie now.
Yeah,
and looks
and
kind of satanic,
it's
to borrow from
it's
kind of a
kind of crazy
visual
looking.
term.
Yeah,
He's very, very creepy looking now. His hair is all sleeked back, Gordon Gekko style.
Yeah. And that's when that dude, the Vanya dude, is like, why did you make him look like this? And he's like, the lady was just like, I was doing what I was ordered to do. And he's like, who ordered you to do this? You know?
Yeah, they keep it's very Kafka-esque, where they're like, I was told what to do. And they're like, well, who told you? And he said, someone came to the door and told me, so I did what they said. And why? Because I'm supposed to do it. Like, it's very much like a never-ending loop of like questions that just follow a question that just, I loved it.
Oh yeah.
And so eventually he goes out and he gives his speech to the awaiting high school football team kind of thing that's happening, which is like a Revolutionary Army reenactment. Yeah. It's just bizarre.
It is like, and it's very one of the things, and I'm trying to remember where I think it's in the speech where he talks about like the nature of Russian people.
Yeah,
and that was awesome. That whole thing I loved. Where he's like,
so we finally get to hear his speech, his claim, this novel that he has written that everyone is in love with, and it is kind of funny, honestly.
Well,
it's basically just like a couple sentences, and the summation of it is, "Fuck the kids."
Yeah,
I don't want to help the orphans. Let them learn to swim.
That's right.
That was the claim that he wrote. So which this is the thing that we have yet to hear, but have now figured out that is what, at least in this world, whether this is a dream or not, we do not know. But this is what he has announced to God. Yes, that's who he is talking to. That's who he's giving this speech to, both his audience and to God. And in turn, God unleashes his fury.
Well, because it could be that the children are God's children, like the people, the humanity, you know? Yeah. So, like, it's, I don't know, it's so deep.
Oh, yeah, the kids are definitely, I was going to say, the children, the orphaned children are definitely symbolic.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and then
totally
it really
symbolic.
Pieces it together at this point where you're like, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, so God basically smites and starts killing everyone.
Yeah,
and
everybody starts scattering, and he's just standing there by himself.
Very visually cool, as he just stands there visually, like proud of himself, like
with this rictus grin, you know.
It's very, very like evil politician grin. Yes, it's very visually evocative. As the fire and red world around him is kind of set to chaos. It's very cool. Like And then we cut to the morning, and this is the part where the little person, like you were saying, is running around saying that he hears the ground rumbling.
Yeah, the ground is vibrating. And don't you hear it? Don't you? And
the Antichrist is coming.
Yeah, he's like, the beast. And then at a certain point, I think he sees Ivan or whatever. I guess his name is Ivan.
He sees Ivan. Yeah, he sees him.
And he's like calling him the beast. And
yes.
And then all of this is in this backdrop of like these soldiers carrying like very orthodox pictures of like Jesus and I think, was it in the speech or was it at a certain point where they talk about how Russian people, it may have been earlier, like if you bring a Russian to like Catholicism, they'll become a Jesuit. If you bring a Russian to atheism, they'll want to violently overthrow the church or something, you know, like they don't like, they're just very into whatever they, you know, like they go too far or something. I don't know. It was really interesting, like what they were saying about their own people.
Yeah. This movie, like I said, especially you kind of get this like untrustworthy narrator here, which is very kind of not atypical of Russian literature. Not every story has an untrustworthy narrator, but a couple of them do. where you kind of learn that the narrator maybe isn't the person you can necessarily believe everything they're saying.
Right.
And you see a lot of that here because Ivan, especially, this entire time, has he been the Antichrist?
Yeah.
And I think the movie is definitely saying something about like false idols and worshiping false idols, and especially if you read the Old Testament, there's a lot of that in there against all that. So,
and new,
yeah, and the new. So you see that especially here as well. Like we said in the background, this is the most religious of all of this director's movies. So, very heavily borrowing from from the faith.
It's a lot directly religious too, you know.
Yeah. So the movie's not over yet, though.
Oh no!
So Ivan, we cut back to him returning home, and now he's in his clothes that he was in before.
Mm-hmm.
And he returns home and he confesses what he did, which was basically kill all these orphans. He let them drown.
And this lady that he's talking to is just like, well, first she's like, I didn't recognize you.
Yeah,
like, I thought you were a stranger, you know. And she's like, so upset by what he's saying. She just like, she's very physically repulsed and horrified by what he's saying to her. Like,
and she's trying to get him a cup of tea. Yeah, she's very repulsed by what he's saying as he's like telling her what he did. So I think what we're supposed to infer from this is that when he left the house at the beginning of the movie, the end times have already happened, like we said, and he wants to do something good before the eyes of God to redeem himself. And then as he sets out to do that, everything, all the meeting of the people, all of that stuff, I think all of those are dreams in him, in his mind, wishing that he could be more than he ever really truly was.
Right.
And I think in reality, he kills the kids. He lets them drown.
Yeah.
As he sits there and sleeps and doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take on the end of the movie. It's very, like, when he comes back and is confessing his sins, it's very Dostoevsky-esque at this point.
Yeah.
Where he is, like, literally, like, confessing to another person, here's what I did and how I feel about it. And he wants her to take away the tea, take away the candles, and he just wants to sleep in the darkness. And this is where we get the whole thing about, like, is God not just a writer and we are just the actors playing out roles that we have no say in? And that's kind of how that's not necessarily how he explains it to her, but that's, or defends his actions to her. But that is kind of one of the things he kind of positions as like being something worthy of talking about, is being like, did I do this or did God just make me this way? And I'm just doing what I was told to do.
Yeah, it's that whole idea of like, oh God, I used to know the terms, like fatalism or whatever. Like, this is your fate; you have no choice.
Yeah.
Or there's the other option, and I can't remember what, but where free will exists. I don't believe in free will. I'm going to be honest with you. I think everything's, you know, it's hard to explain. Like, we're just going to do what we do. We don't have a different way of doing things because how could we possibly know? But
yeah, I like that the movie gets into a lot, especially I like that the movie gets into like wanting to do good, but being incapable of doing that, or not even knowing how to do something good.
Yeah,
like, or that's his thing, is he wants to do something good to prove to people like I was a good person, but he can't think of anything to do except help these kids, and then he realizes I can't help these kids. So they're just going to die. Because actually, I don't really want to help these kids.
Yeah, it's this idea of like, I want to do good, but it just doesn't even occur to me. You know, like it doesn't even erupt in me. I don't know what the word is, but you know.
Yeah. No, I really like it.
Yeah.
So the movie ends with him telling her that he's going to ask God the only question that matters, which is what will become of us, Father. And then we cut to daylight, the only time we're in daylight. And the movie ends. The last 10 minutes are him crawling on his knees through the snow with music playing over him. The Russian Symphony playing over him. And that's how the movie ends, with the credits rolling eventually over him as he continues to crawl. And the movie ends with him still crawling.
Yep.
As it kind of seems like he's crawling towards some kind of salvation, redemption, something.
Mhm.
This is the only time we really see any kind of daylight in the movie.
Yeah. That's the only thing it could be, is that he's like, this is his penance, I guess, and he's making his way towards salvation.
Something like, I mean, like with all art, there's 1,000 different ways you can interpret it.
Absolutely.
This, like I said, there's probably a Russian connection that I'm not familiar with because I haven't read that book. But let me know what
I saw
it
the
is,
French
and
connection.
I'll read it.
Anyway.
Did you see the French Connection too, though?
Oh man, see, that's where I missed. I bet that got into the Russian connection.
that was the spinoff.
Nice.
So yeah, thoughts on this movie, and then I'm going to look at go over some user reviews because I found these interesting, and then we'll get out of here for the night.
Yeah, I struggled, or I'm worried I struggled, on this movie, because I really wanted to pay attention so hard, and I feel like there were long conversations where I didn't get both sides of the conversation, and in the translation. So there's things I'm worried I might have missed that might have helped me a little, but visually, which is mostly what I was going off of, I was just completely taken in. I was worried about such a thing, am I even at all academic enough for this, or if that's even the right word, but intellectual enough, something. Am I artist enough for this? No, I just really loved it. I mean, it's just, as a picture, as a painting, I loved every second of it. Like, it was gorgeous, and I liked what they were doing, what they were saying. I may have not understood a lot of the historical and the literature of it, but I think they did a pretty good job of filling in the gaps. So even for someone like me.
I think this movie is visually interesting to look at. There's a lot of scenes that'll really captivate you. Narratively, you're going to have to do a lot of work to really piece together things. It's one of those movies that begs you to do research and dive deeper into what it is what you're looking at, and making sense of what it is you're looking at, and trying your best to kind of find a theme and find an understanding as to how all of these images that go together into some kind of a story. And it asks a lot of you. It's not a movie that I would recommend to everybody. It's a movie that I would say, if you like movies that make you think and make you work, very David Lynchian type movies, you will like this movie. If you hate those movies and like a movie that just gives you a plot, gives you a narrative, and spells it out, then stay the hell away from this, because this will frustrate the ever-loving crap out of you. But I really liked it. I'm a person that likes some David Lynchian type shit, so I could dig on this all day long, and we'll continue to, because we're going to look at some other movies that are not necessarily like this, but kind of a similar artistic vein, where directors and writers are attempting to make some kind of statement. But before we leave, I thought it'd be interesting to look at some of the reviews of this movie from others. And this is because there's only 2 reviews of this movie on IMDb. And the 30-something years, 20 years now, whatever it is, that IMDb has been on the interwebs, only 2 people have ever felt the need to review this movie and give it an actual editorial. So I felt we should read them, because I think it shows you the kind of the range of how people see this movie. So, starting with the first one, which is from Andrei Graychev. It's his username. This is from February 18th, 2009. Here's what he said. 10 out of 10, great apocalyptic movie. 3rd chapter of great metaphysic Russian director from St. Petersburg, Konstantin Lobashinsky's apocalyptic trilogy. It would eventually become 4 of them. His 4th one hadn't come out when this guy wrote this review. The director himself called this one the Soviet apocalypse of the dying empire. There's some of that historical context for you.
Yeah.
This work is a real monument for Russian orthodoxy and old believers. A lot of that here. It gives brief vision of expression of the post-Soviet regional revival. It is somewhere the direct screening of the Gospel according to St. John. So that's kind of the influences that we're dealing with, and kind of the ones that we talked about a little bit. The story begins with the fact that the world is dead already. The water is coming very fast. Nothing can be done to stop that process. So the post-Soviet people are saving the last days, hiding and going mad everywhere, like we explained. The main character is in his 40s, losing his mind and realizing what is happening with the world. He finds some children have been left stuck in a school that is sinking fast as the water is coming from everywhere. We see the people swimming on boats, furniture, no sun at all. He wants to do something good before he dies. He cannot realize that most people have already lost their humanity and do not care for children or anybody anymore. So the whole film, we see the main character walks around the governmental people who still have helicopters and cars and asks them to help the dying children, but nobody cares. Everybody expects him to have some personal plan to save himself. So this is all what we talked about already.
Yep.
But this one was a 10 out of 10. This is the very end of it. It says, the film is very grotesque, pure critical, very deep and literal dialogue. Most of the questions that were touched in the title are eternal. The director gives a chance for audiences to feel the brief of true orthodoxy here, as only cataclysms can awake the spiritual revival in the times of scientific atheism all around the world. When the film was made, the Russian critics rejected it. They refused to show it on TV, and the film was banned in Russia for many years. It is still very hard to find that title on DVD. Hence why we are watching it on YouTube. And you can follow the link if you would like to. And then he goes into a little bit about how it won some awards in Berlin. But like I said, gave it 10 out of 10. Now here's the other review, which is from a person who identifies as The Thrill. Or actually, there's no R there. It's just The Till.
Huh.
And this is from December 19th, 2000.
Oh.
So 9 years before that 10 out of 10 star review. This is 1 out of 10 stars. Excruciatingly excruciating.
Oh, wow.
That's very early 2000s internet.
Yep.
Dark, ponderous, confusing, murkily surreal. Color me interested. This person hates it, though.
They're trying to paint a 1-star picture, but really they're drawing me in. So
that would be the kind of review where you just caption that part of it and quote it, and they're like, "There's our quote." And
that would be.
Don't worry about the fact that you gave it 1 out of 10 stars. That's high praise. 1 out of 10 stars. We were very happy when it was over, although it was our own fault for not leaving early.
Huh.
Yeah. Save yourself the trouble to trying to figure out what is going on for 2 hours. Well, the last 10 minutes consist of slow crawling through snow. Not much to figure out there. Actually, quite a lot to figure out there.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And just take it on faith that all is not well in the state of Russia. So I thought it was interesting that those two reviews are so diametrically opposed. A 1 out of 10 star and a 10 out of 10 stars. And those two reviews give the film on IMDb about a 68. So that's where it sits right now. I really like this movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can see that it's not for everybody. I don't think if you don't like movies like this, I don't know why you would wait 2 hours to figure out you don't like movies like this.
No, this is the kind of movie I'm the only one in this house that would enjoy it. So, and
my wife hates these kind of movies. I've mentioned that like I was going to watch some art movies, and she just kind of was immediately like, "Oh God, I don't want to watch those at all. Like, I don't want to have to think about any of that." And
that's
like,
fair.
That's fair. That's fair. That's understandable.
Oh yeah,
but,
I definitely
for those of us that
blame.
like it, it's fun.
I don't blame anyone that doesn't like this. Like this is very much that kind of movie. Like this isn't like a movie. Well, and I think most movies are like that actually, but it makes sense if you don't like it. It's fine. It's not for everybody. If you love
Adam Sandler movies, this is not for you.
I don't know,
flat
man.
out.
I think if you watch an Adam Sandler movie the right kind of way, it can be a lot like this.
That's true. It could
be really like dark and show the inner failings of humanity, and
that's true.
You know,
I say that, but I fucking love Punch Drunk Love. So
I've never actually watched that.
Oh God, you got to watch Punch Drunk Love. That movie is so fun. Philip Seymour Hoffman is one of his best performances.
Yeah, I need to check that out.
If anything, just look up on YouTube the phone scene from, and that'll convince you to watch it right away.
Oh, okay.
Adam Sandler and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Philip Seymour Hoffman destroys Adam Sandler in that movie, but it's very, very good. Well, thank y'all for coming along as we rambled about this weird Russian art movie that's hard to find and only available on one place in the good old United States of A. Next week, we will be back again to talk about another weird ass movie for our episode 70, our bonus episode, as we do something a little different. Gonna move away from the world of the apocalypse and instead go to the world of man and metal as we look at a horror film from the 90s from Japan, so fitting our theme that we've developed this month.
Yeah.
And then in November, we got all kinds of weird shit that we're going to talk about. So
Awesome.
Thank you all for coming along. We'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Take it easy.
Boop. Hot damn, college boy. Thank you so much for listening. Every single week we come back with a new movie about the end of the world, or a movie about the beginning of the end of the world, or what happens after the end of the world, or maybe one day we just decide to watch Showgirls. Who knows? Right? But every week we are coming back, and thank you so much for stopping in this week and listening to the whole episode and hearing our thoughts on whatever train wreck of a movie I chose to force my friend to watch this week. I'm a good person like that. And thank you for also being a good person. There you go. If you want to be a really, really fucking cool person, which you obviously are, why don't you give us a like, and actually, more importantly, give us a subscribe. I find that to be more important. I don't know if the algorithm says it is. I don't really give a shit. But thank you for your patronage either way, and clicking all the things and doing all the stuff. Bye. Thanks.